Hold on, and we're going to talk. So good evening, everyone. Welcome to Lemon Live at 5. We're so glad that you're here. A lot to talk about. MAGA world, once again, in disarray. We just got word, just within the last hour, that half of, the black Nazi Mark Robinson down in North Carolina, half of his current staff in the Lieutenant Governor's office has resigned, but no major Republican has yet called on him to resign. What is that all about? Meanwhile, Vice President Kamala Harris is going to sit down for a primetime interview on MSNBC with Stephanie Ruhle. I'm sure that is going to make headlines. We're going to chat about that. We're also looking for the clips to come out on that, right, to see if they did. I'm sure they're interviewing now. It's going to run on MSNBC 8 p.m. tonight on Chris Hayes' show, but it's going to be Stephanie Ruhle doing it. And President Joe Biden himself met the press today, sitting for a fascinating interview with the ladies of The View. We have so much to discuss. Who better to do that than someone who is actually in the room at the table for that interview with the president? And that's Sunny Hostin, author, lawyer, co-host of The View, and a friend of Don Lemon's. Hi.
Hello, Don.
You're on CP time. What's up with that?
I have a disclaimer. I did not know that this was live, and I should have known because I've been watching you, and I know it's like Don Live, and I know the Lemon Heads and everything, but I somehow thought that maybe it was 5:20 or 5:15, and the UN is in town, and the president has been in town. So getting around town is very difficult, and I had to look cute, so I wanted to go to my apartment and change, and it took me longer to get here. And so it's not CP time, it's just trying to be cute time.
You look really great.
Thank
you.
you.
Do.
I was trying to be cute for your Lemon Heads and for you.
You've never looked better.
Can
Let me
I
just
get
say
some love?
Yes, Lemon Heads. Come on, hit Sunny up and thank you.
I'm trying hard.
I think Sunny is why he's late. Yes, it is. But we do have to say, Sunny's late mostly because there is the UN. The UN is here.
The UN is here.
Traffic is ridiculous.
It's horrible.
It's really, really horrible.
Yeah,
Hi, Sunny. See, look, this is live. These are the folks on YouTube. You see them?
No, but it's a lot of the streets are blocked off, which is very unusual in the city.
She's looking at your comments. Okay, so hello, Sunny.
I see y'all.
Team Sunny, looking adorable. You look wonderful.
Thank
you
you.
both look great. You see that? It's a lot of Sunny love.
I feel better because I was rushing in and I felt sick.
Yeah.
But I feel better now.
Okay. Thank you, Sunny. I love you. I'm just having fun with you.
Yes.
So listen, as he approaches the lame duck era of his first and only term, President Joe Biden is showing signs that he is less constrained by the scrutiny of a campaign. Today, that meant he took a little time to enjoy The View.
He did.
He seemed lighter than he's appeared in the past, although he did speak honestly with some emotion about his journey to step aside and to pass the baton to Vice President Harris. Watch this.
Yeah.
What have these past 2 months felt like, and are you at peace with your decision?
I am at peace with my decision. Look, when I ran for this last term, I said that I saw myself as a transition president, transitioning to a new generation of leadership. Now, I know I only look 40, but I'm 180 years old. I've been around forever, and but what happened was, we were having so much success in getting things done that people thought we couldn't get done.
Right.
I found myself having used more time than I would have ordinarily to, pass that torch. But working with Kamala, she is bright, she is tough, she's honorable, and the thing I like about her, and one thing we share in common, is that we have an optimistic view of the future here.
Yeah,
I mean, there's nothing we can't do, and there really isn't. Anyway, but that's what happened, and so finally I decided that it was better. And I said I meant what I said. It was the greatest honor in the world sitting behind the Resolute desk as President of the United States, but I loved it, but it sounds corny, but I love my country more.
That's right. That's just an incredible...
Sonny, by the way, look, I could say how I feel, and I said this when I was on CNN, because you know what the man did after my sister died. He called me and talked to me 45 minutes about grief. I don't see how people talk so much crap about him, the other side.
Yeah.
How could you not like the man, right? Did he seem more at peace to you?
He was not only at peace, he's the Joe Biden that we know. As you know, I know Joe. We've spoken on the phone as well. I've had losses in our family. He's called. I've had questions. He's called. He is the quintessential public servant. Like, he really cares about this country more than he cares about himself. And he explained that politics were personal. And that goes not only just domestically, but internationally as well. And I think he will go down in history in terms of his legacy as George Washington, as the man who showed us how to put ego before country, to put personal ambition before country, to put democracy before himself, and literally teach the people, the American people, how to step down with grace and pass the torch to the next generation. That will be his legacy. And it was so clear that, to me at least, that he was at peace with his decision, that he thought he could win. I think he could have won because of what he's facing on the other side, which is just totally, ridiculous. And I think that when he first said, I'm running as a transformational president, I'm running to save the soul of this country, the soul of the nation, I believed that. And I believe that he still believes that. But when he started getting so much work done, and to be clear, he's gotten more done.
He's had one of the most successful presidency in modern history.
In modern history, but he didn't get the credit for it yet.
Right.
And that's why I say it will be etched in history. He was thinking, I got more to do.
Yeah.
I can get more done. But then I think unfairly, it was sort of this public infighting.
That's what I want to ask you about, because
Yeah.
you guys did talk about that.
We
but
did.
I think you're right. Before we get to that, real quickly, you mentioned his legacy. It's also going to be the first black woman Supreme Court Justice.
Supreme Court Justice, the first black female vice president.
And if the vice president, first female vice president, and if she wins,
yes, that is his legacy. And I spoke to him on the phone about picking Kamala.
You did.
We did this Washington Post op-ed, a group of the Machetes. We got together and we were like, Joe.
Yeah.
Listen.
And the Divine Nine.
In the Divine Nine, you got to do this.
Say,
and he did it.
But you were a ride or die. A lot of people were ride or die Joe Biden's.
Yeah, I was.
And supporters. And you were like, nothing against the vice president. You were just like, we have a great president. He's doing great right now. Why change horses in midstream? And you guys spoke a bit about that, and Whoopi weighed in.
Yeah.
Let's watch.
Think had you stayed in the race, would you have won?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was confident I would beat Trump.
Listen, I
He's a
didn't like
loser.
the way they did it. I'm going to just say it out loud because nobody says it out loud. I didn't like the way it was done publicly. I thought they could have done this in a different way because we didn't need to hear all the inner fighting. I didn't like it. I'm saying it to you. You were my ride or die. I was going wherever you were going, that's what I was doing. So I just wanted to say that because I always felt you were going to probably do 4 years and then try to figure out where to go with Kamala. Then he just wouldn't go. He was like a bug. He just kept being there. He was like a bug right there. Zzz. So you felt... That's what was needed, and you did it. And I just want to say thank you. But thank you for everything you've done in my entire lifetime.
Do you see what Janet Davis says? I agree with Whoopi, and I want to say, so you were Biden ride or die.
I was.
Were you upset?
It could have been like Weekend at Bernie's for me. They could have just rolled him in, and I would have. I would have voted for him. I looked at policies. I looked at what he produced. I looked at the fact that he was over a 50-year public servant. He did the job, and he's decent. I wanted decency back in politics. So yes, I was ride or die. Now, that's not to say that I do not think that the woman that is at the top of the Democratic ticket right now is not qualified, and is not competent, and will make a fantastic 47th president of the United States. But I was ride or die Joe Biden because of all the work that he did, and he didn't really get credit for it. But I will say this. Did you see how sharp he was during our interview?
Yeah.
He was sharp. He was funny. So for those that saw a debate, a bad debate, we all have bad days. Maybe he was tired. He was just coming off of being sick.
He just said he said I'm 185. He's joking around.
He was just,
I got something
but
to
he
say
is
about
the
that.
same age as my co-host Joy Behar, and she is one of the sharpest people that I know. And she, she's a very dear friend of mine. We actually hang out together. We were all together 2 days ago. We hang out. We drink tequila together. Bottom line is that is Joe Biden, and I don't like that the Republicans tend to keep all their nasty work hidden, and then all of a sudden, there's sort of this firing squad in public against a public servant who loves this country. I didn't like it.
Yeah. I want you to hold that thought about interviews because we're going to talk about it because the vice president is doing an interview tonight, right? And they're saying, oh, she doesn't do interviews, she can't answer questions, all that. We're going to talk about that. But I'm glad that you said that because was it a bad interview? Yes. Even he admitted that.
The debate.
I'm sorry, the debate.
Yes,
pardon me.
sure.
It was a bad debate. He admits that. He is a man of a certain age. He's got a lot going on, in his life.
There are wars going on all around the world.
Exactly. And so that's when that whole, remember I got in trouble for the whole idea about speaking up for older people because I thought about Joy Behar, I thought about my mom, I thought about Clive Davis, I thought about all these people, Nancy Pelosi, speaking on this.
I'm going to be 56 October 20th. You know that.
Hey, look, I'm older.
Yeah.
So I don't believe that presidencies are run debate style.
Right.
You have to have people in the room where it happened. You were there today. And speaking of Nancy Pelosi,
yes,
there was a question that asked about, people are blaming the entire situation on Nancy Pelosi. And I think, who was it, Sarah, who asked the question about their relationship?
Alyssa did.
It was Alyssa.
And she switched her question up a little bit. I had seen it before.
But we have it, if you want to see it.
Oh, yeah. It was a little different than what I expected.
We all agree at this table it's very selfless of you to pass the baton and step aside. There was a perception that perhaps your hand was forced, and some pointed fingers to Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who you have a long relationship with and accomplished many things with. Did you feel that your hand was forced, and what is your relationship with Speaker Pelosi now?
My relationship is fine. Look, I never fully believed the assertions that somehow there was this overwhelming reluctance of my running again. I didn't sense that. And although the polling, as I said, Biden's polling was different, the fact of the matter is my polling was about, we're always within range of beating this guy.
Yeah.
And, what I did was, I think there were, it makes sense. There were some folks who would like to see me step aside so they have a chance to move on. I get that. That's just human nature. But that wasn't the reason that I stepped down. I stepped down because I started thinking about it. It's hard to think of, I know you're only 30, but it's hard to think of, it's hard for me to even say how old I am. No, I'm serious. I don't know.
Why is that?
I give my word. It's like, holy God, that can't be right. that just can't be right.
I'm your age, by the way. The number gives me
you're not.
vertigo. No. Yes, it does. I am. I'm your age.
No woman close to me is as old as I am. None.
I'm telling you, sir.
Right now they are.
He's such a gentleman.
It was a special moment because I don't think he realized Joy Behar was 81, soon to be 82. And it's because it's not the age, it's not the number, it's the person.
Exactly.
And I don't feel that I'm 56 and an empty nester, about to be 56.
You look good.
Thank you, my
Come on,
friend.
don't tell your age,
Thank
because
you,
people
my
wouldn't
friend.
know.
But you know what? I'm going to start
37.
calling it 30 plus, 30-27, but or 30-26. What's the alternative? Like, there are so many of my friends, I grew up in the Bronx Project, as you know, didn't make it to this age. So this is a privilege and a pleasure and a humbling time to make this age. But to get back to what we were talking about today, what Alyssa was going to ask and go a little bit deeper, and I was also going to ask, we had Nancy Pelosi on our show.
Yeah.
And we asked her sort of point blank, how is your relationship with Joe Biden right now? Because our understanding is that you were the one that sort of started this. Because Nancy is a win at all costs woman, yes, from California, but she's from Baltimore, okay? And that's who she is. I know Nancy Pelosi. And she said, I hope it's good. That was her answer. And so,
you know.
and she also said something like, you should ask him.
Yeah. So,
And
can I ask you that?
I wanted to know how he felt about it.
Okay, so I wanted you to finish that answer because she's saying, I hope it is. That means they haven't spoken, right?
That's
do you
how it felt.
Okay, do you think they'll ever speak again? Because there have been reports that they blame the entire situation on her, and also there are reports that allies like Anita Dunn are working behind the scenes. Again, I don't know if this is true, to make sure that Nancy Pelosi cannot pass her seat on to her daughter. So there's a lot of questions, but
yeah, I don't know about Nancy Pelosi passing her seat on to her daughter, but I will, and I don't know if they are not talking, but I can tell you from my experience when we had Nancy on the show, she talked a lot about winning. She talked about a lot about the state of our democracy and the threat to our democracy. And she talked a lot about her affection for Joe Biden. And she hoped that he understood that it was politics. That was my takeaway. And so, but Joe Biden made it very clear today that he considers politics personal. And knowing the bit that I know about Jill Biden, and having spent time with her, I spoke to Jill about my daughter Paloma's, she's a first-time voter, and how Paloma was sort of struggling with the vote. Jill Biden, the First Lady, wrote a personal letter to my daughter and sent it to my home.
wait, what was Paloma struggling with?
She was struggling with a lot of things. She was struggling with the fact that she thought that it was that he would be a one-term president. She was struggling with the fact that she wanted to see a black female president. She wanted to see
I
the
thought when you said that, I thought you were saying that she was struggling between Kamala Harris and
no. But she was struggling with. She felt the promise was, I'm going to be a transitional president, which turned into, I'm going to stay.
And so she wrote a letter.
Yes,
Jill
she
Biden.
did. And so that goes to show you how the type of people these are. These are people that take everything personally. So I would not be surprised if Joe Biden took sort of the saying the quiet parts out loud in public personally. And I didn't like it myself. I'm sure he didn't like it, but he was every bit of the statesman that he is.
But I think
today.
because of that, you're saying that, I think that look, it's going to be tough for him, but he is a class act, and I think that they'll eventually speak.
Yes, they will.
If
they're not speaking
already, I think they'll work it out. Jill Biden, though,
Jill stands by her man.
That's what I mean.
Jill and I have a lot in common.
But
okay?
That's like, and you're like my Tim. Tim holds all my grudges. Where I'm like, it's okay, forgive. He's like, hell no.
No.
And there are people to this day that they can walk over to a table where we are, whatever, and he will be like,
that's why I loved him. Tim
keep
and I
eating
are
his
cut
food.
from
He
the
will
same
not
cloth.
say hello. He can't do it.
No, I can't do it either.
And well, I feel like I have to be gracious. So he's like, nope. He goes, you have to do that.
Yeah,
I don't have to do
no
that.
interest in that. And,
Wow.
and Manny and Tim are obviously very similar. Or Tim and I are very similar. Manny and you are very similar, statesmen. But Jill, she loves that man. And she was there. One thing that no one saw is that Jill came out to greet us before Joe
really?
came out.
Yeah.
And hugged each and every one of us. I got a chance to thank her for writing that letter to Paloma. She asked me questions. I mean, she wanted to meet everyone, and then went backstage. What first lady does that? Why would she want to, do that?
Well, I know you.
She's real.
When Michelle Obama said, when they go low, we go high, you're like, I love Michelle, I respect her, but when they go
do.
low, I go to the Earth's crust.
I become small like an ant. I meet energy with energy. I think, it's really wonderful, but I think Michelle has evolved. If you listen to her speech during the DNC,
I like it better than
she's
the
not
president.
where they go low, we go high. She's let's meet energy with energy now.
Oh, yeah.
She's where I was then.
Black job. That was not go high.
No.
Or because
No.
the two black people happened to be educated.
Yes.
Right? Yeah,
she
that was.
met energy with energy.
energy.
And that's what we're dealing with now. We unfortunately can't go high.
Don't
because
spill that on
they
the beautiful
I won't.
lavender
Thank you.
suit.
Because they go low.
Let me ask you about who's in the race now. Okay, so President Joe Biden graciously stepped aside.
Yeah.
Right. He said because he cares. He says, "I love the office, but I love my country more."
Right.
And we need more people who are like that.
Yes.
Right. So we have Vice President Kamala Harris who's at the top of the ticket now, and you've heard people. She needs to do more interviews. She's got to do this. We need to hear more from her policy. I've heard that. I heard that from people like, I don't really know her. Where are you on that, Sonny?
Well, I do know her. I've interviewed her,
Yeah.
as you know, a couple times.
Yeah.
And
I don't know her as well as you, but I know her, man. And
and,
she's just warm and.
She's warm. She's what I would call a joyful warrior, which is what we need right now. She's tough. The suggestion that she somehow was in favor of defunding police departments is false.
BS. And she locked up all these men.
And locked up men for marijuana offenses is false. I met her probably 10 or 15 years ago. I beg people to please read her book, Smart on Crime. It's not tough on crime, it's smart on crime. And as a prosecutor, it really
Sonny's a former
spoke to
federal
me.
prosecutor.
I'm a former federal prosecutor.
so that's,
and
you
it
guys
spoke to
bonded
me.
on that.
We really did. And it's about, people want police presence in their communities. They feel safer, but they also want to not be targeted. They don't want to be stopped and frisked. They don't want sort of this broken window policy type of policing. They want smart policing, and I think our police officers have a really tough job because they also want to go home at night to their families. I have police officers in my family. And so, the notion somehow that she's going to take away your guns, that she's soft on crime, that she's not good on the economy, that she's not good on the middle class, that she is going to bring our country backwards and into the depths of despair. Those are all fallacies. It's just not true. And I guess what I'm begging people to do, and what I try to do every day on our show, is I'm trying to, there are 5 of us and at a time, and our segments are about 6 minutes, 7 minutes. I'm trying to impart just one piece of information that will stick with you. And if what sticks with you is read Smart on Crime, her book, read that.
And maybe this will stick with you. The interview tonight's sure to make headlines. We have a clip. Let's watch.
Expanding that child tax credit, or you mentioned housing before, giving that extra money for a first home. If you can't raise corporate taxes, or if GOP takes control of the Senate, where do you get the money to do that? Do you still go forward with those plans and borrow?
Well, but we're going to have to raise corporate taxes, and we're going to have to make sure that the biggest corporations and billionaires pay their fair share. That's just it. It's about paying their fair share. I am not mad at anyone for achieving success, but everyone should pay their fair share, and it is not right that the teachers and the firefighters that I meet every day across our country are paying a higher tax than the richest people in our country.
Bill Gates just said it this week. If he was in charge of taxes, he would have paid more. But how do you find that line to make sure corporations are paying their fair share, but they're not leaving our country?
Well, listen, I work with a lot of CEOs. I have spent a lot of time with CEOs, and I'm going to tell you that the business leaders who are actually part of the engine of America's economy agree that people should pay their fair share. They also agree that when we look at a plan such as mine that is about investing in the middle class, investing in new industries, investing in bringing down costs, invest in entrepreneurs like small businesses, that the overall economy is stronger and everyone benefits.
Yeah,
What'd you think?
Look, her plan on the economy, and she's calling it an opportunity economy. Again, I beg people, please read her policies. Also read Project 2025, because those are Trump policies. Over 100 people that work for him put that together. Those are his policies, and it's a very different, almost desperate view of what our country looks like. If you look at her economic policies, the Wharton School, where, the former president, twice impeached, one-term felon,
Ex-president.
I cracked myself up.
Yeah.
You know, if you look at what his school said, his economic policy doesn't work.
It adds like $5 trillion.
It adds $5 trillion to the deficit. I also ask people to look at someone like Mark Cuban, who I think, in my view, I know Mark as well, has changed the pharmaceutical industry by making it much cheaper, pays back so much. He gave an incredible interview with Nicole Wallace. We're going to have him on our show. No big plug, but we're going to have him on a show. He stands by her economic policy. Yeah. I think that means a lot when people really know what they're talking about.
And they're not so far right or far left, because
who knows
Mark Cuban is a centrist.
Who knows what his politics are? He seems to be pretty in the center, and he's saying, no, this works.
Well, what I'm saying is that people, when they're that partisan, right, there's a bias that they have about, So, but what do you think? Because that was her first sit down, her first one-on-one. She did one with Dana Bash on CNN, who we both worked with, right?
Yes.
So she did one with Dana Bash, but it was also with Governor Walz. And you know, there were people who said, "Oh, she didn't do this, she didn't answer this." Mm-hmm. How do you think that she did there?
I thought she was great. And it's because she knows what she's talking about. Mm-hmm. You know, when you're a prosecutor, the rule is preparation, preparation, preparation. Mm-hmm. I think that's why we saw her mop the floor with Trump during the debate, because you saw someone that was so very prepared, preparation, 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 and you saw someone trying to wing it. I don't want a president trying to wing this country.
Or who has a concept of a plan instead of a plan.
Yeah, what's a concept of a plan? I have a lot of concepts. I have a lot of concepts.
I have a lot of ideas.
A lot of ideas.
But did you see the I'm sure you guys talked about it on The View, the Bill Maher, Stephanie Ruhle on Bill Maher?
No,
did you see that?
I have not seen that.
You haven't seen it?
I have not seen
so
that.
I wanted that. So Stephanie Ruhle, and people are saying, well, this is why Stephanie Ruhle got the interview, because she's in the tank for Kamala Harris. But I thought Stephanie Ruhle, who I know, it was...
Well, she's an economy
she's
expert.
Yeah, she's like a financial. She came from Bloomberg,
yes.
right? And before that, she was on Wall Street.
Yes.
So she knows. So this is her on Bill Maher. We're going to play it. It's a little long, but I want you to see it.
Okay.
And I want to get your reaction. Here it is.
Sure.
Questions. It's not too much to ask Kamala, say, are you for a Palestinian state if Hamas is going to run that state?
Okay.
Yes or no?
And let's say you don't like her answer. Are you going to vote for Donald Trump?
No, I'm not.
Kamala
I just said I'm not going to vote for her.
Harris is not running for perfect. She's running against Trump. We have two choices. And so there are some things you might not know her answer to. And in 2024, unlike 2016 for a lot of the American people, we know exactly what Trump will do, who he is, and the kind of threat he is to democracy.
I don't know.
So it's unclear to me how there could be an informed...
The problem that a lot of people have with Kamala is we don't know her answer to anything, okay?
But you know his answer to everything.
And that's why I would never vote for him, and people shouldn't vote for him. But people also are expected to have some idea of what the program is of the person you're supposed to vote for. You're just not supposed to say, well, you have to vote for Y because X is this, that, and the other. Let's find out a little bit more. And I don't think it's a lot to ask her to sit down for a real interview as opposed to a puff piece in which she describes like her feelings of growing up in Oakland with nice lawns.
Then I would just say to that, when you move to Nirvana, give me your real estate broker's number and I'll be your next door neighbor. We don't live there.
I mean, I feel like you're the dog we're trying to get in the car to go to the bed. You know?
The dog knows.
We're going to put that comment on your head for the rest of the day.
I say that as one of your biggest fans. You know, I mean, I gobble up everything you write. I just don't understand how you get to this place. But okay, let's not badger.
But do you know, for the last 2 weeks, I've been going on and on. Like, I can't figure out where informed undecided voters are. I'm like, who's the person who has a list on their refrigerator of like, well, she said this, and I'm like, who is this person? And then I opened the New York Times 3 days ago, and it's you.
Stephanie is the same way on TV as she is off, and I thought that was really great. And look.
Wow.
So folks are saying she's in the can. She says that, Kamala Harris should not be questioned, should not answer questions from journalists, blah, blah, blah.
I don't think she said that. Look, I think when you see someone explain what really is happening. This is a binary choice at this point. And no, you shouldn't vote for Kamala Harris because she's a woman, but you certainly shouldn't vote against her because she's a woman. I think you should look at her policies, but you should also look at Trump's policies. And what are they? He has concepts of plans. He has no real policies. And he's trying to distance himself from policies like Project 2025. I decided, as the nerd that I am, to read 900 pages. I was almost brain dead. And I also read like a shorter version of it that my mother found. And we were horrified at how backwards the thinking is, how scary the thinking is, how sneaky in many respects the thinking is. And so I agree with Stephanie in the sense is, if you are a voter who is undecided but read in, that doesn't make sense, because when you do read in and you know you have two choices, because this is not the time to sit this one out. You cannot write someone in, that's throwing your vote away. You can't vote for, yourself or your mom. You can't sit on the couch. It's not the time for that. When you do read in and you compare apples to apples, it is the answer
clear.
is very, very
And you can't
clear.
say lesser of two evils, because it's not a lesser of two evils.
I think that's too easy.
But I also think,
I don't like the folks. I'm sorry.
No, go on.
I don't like the folks that say, well, of course you have to vote for the vice president because look at what's on the other side. I don't think that's fair. I think what is fair, I think that's lazy, actually. I think I think it's lazy to dismiss people that are his supporters. Some people are supporting him because it's going to be better for their own pocket, right? Some people are supporting him because there's a white supremacy piece to it. Let's be honest. Some people are supporting him because they supported him in 2016, and they think that the check that they got, the stimulus check, because of the once in a century pandemic, came from him just because his name was on it, even though it actually came from the federal government.
And Joe Biden also gave him a stimulus
Joe
check.
Biden.
Like, come on.
If you really read in the way we as journalists have to read in, there is no real choice. The choice is the Vice President of the United States. She's been in the room where it happens. And on our show today, President Joe Biden made it clear that she was capable of doing every single thing that he has been doing, and that meant a lot to me, especially when it comes to foreign policy.
What do you think about, speaking of, she wants to eliminate the filibuster, right?
Yes.
Did you, right?
I support that.
Okay. Well, let's play it real quick, and then here we'll talk.
Well within our reach to hold on to the majority in the Senate and take back the House. And so I would also emphasize that while the presidential election is extremely important and dispositive of where we go moving forward, it also is about what we need to do to hold on to the Senate and win seats in the House. That being said, I've been very clear. I think we should eliminate the filibuster for Roe, and we need and get us to the point where 51 votes would be what we need to actually put back in law the protections for reproductive freedom and for the ability of every person and every woman to make decisions about their own body and not have their government tell them what to do.
So do you support it? You don't think that because you're also opening it up for Republicans as well to be able to?
Look, Republicans have been doing it for a really long time.
She wants to do this because she wants to carve out she wants to codify Roe v. Wade.
Well, I think what we need to make really clear is that the filibuster is not a constitutional requirement, right? It's not embedded in the Constitution. It's just a rule that came up in Congress. The House has used it and the Senate has used it because both Congress has to use it. You have to have 51 votes instead of 60. And by that slim majority, you can codify laws. And I think what people don't seem to understand is, yes, every couple of years it's used. But it was first used and first implemented to thwart civil rights legislation. That is the history of the filibuster. And you remember back in the day, you would have to get up on the floor of the Senate and talk for hours and hours and hours. You don't have to do that anymore. So it's very easy to say, I'm going to filibuster. And what they have done is, in terms of filibustering, is now you have Roe v. Wade is not codified. The John Lewis Voting Rights Act, not codified. You have things like gun control,
The Justice and
not
Policing
codified.
Act,
The
right.
Justice and Policing Act. So you have all these things that aren't codified, and what that really means is that it's minority rule. So you
That's also because of the Electoral College.
It's
too.
because of the Electoral College, which is a vestige of slavery.
Yeah.
I mean, I could give a class on that. But the bottom line is the suggestion that, well, you don't want to do the filibuster because things can turn, and then, you know, the Senate could change, and then they'll do it. They've been doing it. And the only reason it started was to make sure that people did not have equal rights. I say, let's use it for good, for a change. 3 most important things for me right now as a mother, as a woman, as an American citizen: gun control. I'm tired of active fire drills. I'm tired of worrying about my kids getting gunned down in their colleges. I am tired of voter suppression. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of being afraid when Gabriel gets into his car and drives around. I'm tired of those 3 things. I have an 18-year-old daughter. I'm Catholic. She's Catholic, but we may feel differently about reproductive health rights, but I want her to have her right to
do it.
to do what she feels is necessary, and the filibuster does that.
What you don't realize is that I invoke
Eliminating
you
the
all the
filibuster.
time to the lemon heads when I say, you know, my friend Sonny feels a certain, because you know, I wrote the book
Yeah,
about this, and
I feel a certain kind of
you
way.
feel a certain kind of way. You wouldn't personally have an abortion.
No.
But you don't think it's your right to be able to tell someone else what they can do.
No, it's a quintessential foundation of our government. It's a separation
It's enough
between
church
church
and
state.
state. Thank you,
I
Sonny.
can't do it. I can't say, I'm sorry, I don't believe in abortion, so you can't have one.
Yeah. And it's not just about,
Our
I hate to call
founding
it abortion.
founders knew that.
You know, in the book I call it untenable pregnancies, and there are some unintentional pregnancies, but untenable pregnancies, because not all of it is like, oh my gosh, I can't have this baby because it's not the right time. It is the health of the mother, the life of the
Yes.
mother is in jeopardy, and sometimes the doctor could
Or
say,
the baby.
this baby is not viable outside of the room,
Yes.
is inconsistent with life.
Yes.
So, and people, and women, it's also, reproductive rights are not just about untenable pregnancies and
And to
those
be
things.
clear, you know, I wrote about it in my memoir, but I had 5 miscarriages trying to have my kids. And it's the amongst the worst experiences I've ever had. You know, you're looking forward to having this baby, you want this baby more than anything else, and the doctor comes in and says, this is not a viable pregnancy. It feels like the world is going to end for you. My daughter Paloma was a twin pregnancy. Her twin didn't make it. Do you know, I still think about that, if not every day, every week. So don't tell me that women are just having abortions just because. And don't tell me, please, that having an abortion after or killing a baby after the baby is born is something that the Democrats do. Infanticide, I'm a former federal prosecutor, is illegal in all 50 states. It just doesn't happen. So when you hear this rhetoric, and I'm just gonna call them lies, as a Catholic, a practicing Catholic, it angers me because it uses Christianity, it uses religion to subjugate women.
Yeah, just like they used it to enslave our,
Yes.
our folks, right? Our
Yes.
people. Real quickly, because I want to ask you something else. Thank you for sharing that
Sure.
as well. Did you do IVF?
I did IVF several times,
Okay.
and it almost bankrupted us.
Yeah.
Thank God there's talk now about IVF also being protected, and you know, I really hope so because I've got some expensive children, man.
I'm glad you mentioned, because you know they're talking IVF is an issue, but thank you for sharing. That was a very candid moment.
Sure.
Sonny. That's why I love you. Thank you so much for that. So I want to ask you about. So I talked to you about the interview. Okay, and so because the vice president, who's vying to be president, said that she supports getting rid of the filibuster or sort of adjusting the filibuster, not a carve out for the filibuster for women's reproductive rights or Roe v. Wade. Joe Manchin said, you know, he's not going to support her. But then this is breaking
He's a little
news.
irrelevant, isn't he?
Yes. I want you to respond on the other side, because there
Sure.
is someone, breaking news, who's saying something a bit different, and that's
Oh.
Lisa Murkowski. Watch.
Okay.
I don't think that it can be defended. What happened on January 6th was an effort by people who stormed a building in an effort to stop an election. I wish that as Republicans we had a nominee that I could get behind. I certainly can't get behind Donald Trump.
Are you considering being an independent at this point?
Oh, I think I'm very independent-minded.
Officially, though, officially.
I just regret that our party is seemingly becoming a party of Donald Trump.
Yeah. You becoming an independent caucusing with the Republicans, is that something you're open to?
I am navigating my way through some very interesting political times. Let's just leave it at that.
Now, I think,
Wow.
okay, that's great that she said that, because she's coming to that realization. Actions speak louder than words. But what I did not hear is that I'm going to vote for Vice President Harris.
No, and you don't hear that, and perhaps that's why sometimes they have that little curtain, right? Because I think there are going to be a lot of Republicans that have come out publicly and said, I'm going to support Harris, and I think there are going to be a lot of Republicans that, like Murkowski, who cannot get behind, I don't know who she's going to vote for, I'm not predicting that, but who can't get behind Trump and aren't going to throw their votes away.
And Republican women, too. I think they may say one thing in public and they're going to get in the booth.
Especially Republican women, and I think they find themselves in a place that's very different. This is not the party of John McCain. This is not the party of even the Bushes. This is the Trump party. And while I'm not in favor of a third party, I'm very in favor of a healthy Republican Party. We don't have that right now. We have the cult of Trump. And so when you hear someone like Lisa Murkowski, who is a Republican senator, saying, I don't have a candidate to vote for.
And she's going to become an independent. Yeah.
That says a lot, and I think it requires a lot of bravery and courage to say that.
One more thing on this interview/debate thing, right? Because Donald Trump says, I don't need to do another debate or whatever. You said that she mopped the floor with him, right?
She did.
But it's interesting because, they're saying, you hear this rhetoric. The debate should be had on Fox, and maybe if they did it on Fox, and which they believe is not biased. I personally believe that Fox lost credibility for the debate after the Dominion thing, after they said in court that they don't have
It's entertainment, it's not real news.
Right, they don't have to tell the truth.
Yeah,
they don't have an obligation to tell the truth on the
Yeah.
air. But Hugh Hewitt, quite interesting.
I know Hugh.
Yeah, we all right. We all work with these people in our former lives.
We worked
So
with them.
Hugh Hewitt is saying that's not so fast, Donald Trump. That's not necessarily the story. Here's Hugh Hewitt.
What's the latest on this?
The latest is I actually believe, this is me talking, that the Harris campaign would do a Fox debate. It's the former president has come to the conclusion that there really shouldn't be another debate. Now, his reasoning, don't know. I always thought that it would be like a bug zapper in the backyard for the former president, and that he couldn't get away from the light of 70 million viewers, and that he would have to eventually, just knowing him, do it if it was on Fox and something he could agree to. I'm getting the sense from him in the campaign that that they are moving past it, and it really the holdup is not the Harris campaign and Fox. It is the former president.
He's scared.
Look, she can debate him.
And he's lying.
Of course, she can debate him on Mars
Not
and
him.
still
I'm sorry,
win.
Sonny. Not Brett Baer.
No.
Donald Trump is scared and lying. Go on.
He's scared. She can debate him on Mars and still win. She was on the debate team. She was a former senator, DA, attorney general, vice president.
Prosecutor.
Okay?
All
Prosecutor, all the things. He cannot beat her in a debate. And so, I think there are two schools of thought. One school is Kamala, Madam Vice President, debate him anytime, any place, anywhere. Debate him in the schoolyard. You're still going to win.
You want to see another debate?
I don't need to see another debate because she's going to win. But I think that, the other school of thought is maybe he should debate her again because maybe he will do better. If I were advising the president, which I would never work for the felon, I would advise him not to take a chance, not to debate her because he cannot beat her. It's not possible. All he can do is attack. And now we know that those attacks aren't working. I mean, my understanding is that Hillary Clinton, in just helping her prep a little bit for the debate, explained that he can be baited. And all she did was talk about his crowd size, and he devolved. He was okay for about 15 minutes at that debate, and then it all went away because she talked about crowd size. Remember at the DNC, you had Obama sort of just gesture and talk about size. And he's probably still thinking about that. This is a juvenile person. This is a person that's, he's not, in my opinion, he's not someone that deserves to be in the highest office in the land. He doesn't have the temperament or the qualifications befitting of the President of the United States, but he can't win a debate against the Vice President.
She's the one who doesn't have the crowd sizes. People are not, we have the bigger crowds. People are not leaving and they're not getting, she said, they're so bored. Oh my gosh, that infuriated. He didn't even answer the question. He said, I got to say this, and then.
He completely devolved.
He lost it.
Completely devolved.
So I think it's interesting that, that whole debate thing. I don't think we're going to see another debate. Sonny, I have been waiting to talk to you about this next story because, look, it is a really sad story, right? And you're the legal expert.
Okay.
I spoke about this story this morning on our Hot Topics. I believe a show called Hot Topics.
Oh, I like that. I like that.
But for those who have missed it, this is a context. There is a Missouri man convicted of breaking into a woman's home and repeatedly stabbing her. He was executed yesterday over the objections of the victim's family, the victim's own family, the jurors, right, who sat on the case, and the lawyer who prosecuted him.
Yeah.
They all said that he should not be executed. His name is Marcellus Williams, 55, or was, right? He was convicted in 1998 of killing Leisha Gay, who was stabbed during a burglary of her suburban St. Louis home. Okay, so yesterday, despite the objections of the 3 liberal judges on the U.S. Supreme Court, the MAGA majority denied him a stay of execution and sent him to death. I just want to know, you think, we have the sound bites, whatever. We have him in his own words. Have you seen that, him speaking in his own words? No. Okay. All right. Well, first, let's hear, you want to hear Joy read? What Joy's take on it? Or you want to hear him in his own words?
I'd like to hear him.
Let's hear him in his own words.
Joy's my buddy, so.
Yeah.
Whatever Allah determines, I'm satisfied with it. Whatever, so I already been right there at that moment. And there's nothing changed about it. I'm still, like I said before, I don't believe in the system, the criminal justice system. I don't believe in it, to that degree. But I know that it can be used for good as well. So if good come out of it for me and for my family and for all those that's been supporting me, and all praise be to Allah. There's a little supplication that the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him, he used to say, oh Allah, if life is good for me, then give me life. If death is good for me, then give me death. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I feel. You know what I'm saying? I say the same supplication. So yeah, I'm at peace, of course.
What do you think? Listen, aren't several of the Republicans on the court supposedly believers, right? They're religious, and they did that despite the paltry evidence.
I think
they believe in life.
I think that if you call yourself pro-life, I know there's a lot of stuff around that word, then that means all life. So that means you should be against the death penalty. That means you should be against abortion. And that certainly means you should be supportive of gun control, right? Those are instrumentalities of death. So I think you find some hypocrisy in the pro-life movement. I am against the death penalty. I was one of those prosecutors at the Department of Justice who was known not to be willing to take a death penalty case because I don't believe in it, because I think the death of one innocent man is or woman is not worth the system itself. And having been inside the system as a prosecutor, once you see how the sausage is made, you don't eat sausage. You know that. Prosecutors make mistakes, cops make mistakes, witnesses make mistakes all the time. I will also say, in a case where you have a prosecutor saying, I don't want this person put to death, when you have a case where you have a jury that says, I may have gotten it wrong, when you have a victim's family say, I don't want this man put to death, my question is then what is the point, right? If our system is about rehabilitation, if our system truly is about that, and it's unfortunately not, if our system is about sending a message, it just is counter to everything. But what I will say in terms of his words, that is a man that has accepted his fate regardless of what the criminal justice system is going to do. If death is what is going to happen to me, then I'll accept that. If life is what is going to be given to me, then I'll accept that. But a death penalty case without forensic evidence has always been extremely troubling to me. And
if you heard that, you're a prosecutor, if you heard the person who prosecuted him said, something's up, something's wrong with this. The family says, something's wrong with this. And others said, something's up with this.
That is not someone that you execute. But again, that is coming from someone who doesn't believe in the death penalty at any cost. And I've been asked this question, what if it were your kid? What if it were your mother? What if it were your father who, was the victim of a senseless crime? I hope that God would give me the grace to forgive them.
Same.
Yeah.
They just like us. Sonny, okay, one more thing. This man, Mark Robinson, the black Nazi.
Are we taking him seriously at all?
Exactly. But why? Okay, so his whole staff has resigned or whatever. So, all right, that's
Is it his entire staff now?
pretty much. I think half of his staff. I think
Left.
there's more of his staff who've resigned now
Okay.
because maybe just as the bodyguard. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But there's this whole thing about men behaving badly. You've got him, right? You've got Matt Gaetz, who they've sort of reopened an investigation of him about with a 17-year-old at a party, right? Allegedly.
I'm surprised he's
And
still
then
there. Yeah.
you've got the guy. You got RFK.
Oh, yes.
Yes. And then you've got the guy, what's his name? Corey, I don't know if you know about him. Corey DeAngelis.
No, I don't know.
And if we can put up the tweet of him, or the full screen of him. So this Corey DeAngelis, he's a right-wing anti-LGBTQ plus education activist, exposed for former gay adult film actor report. Now here's the thing, right?
Hypocrisy.
Right, that's the thing. Him being in an adult film, that's his business, right? If he wants to do that, there's nothing. But then here, do we have the soundbite of him on Fox? Because I want to hear if we do.
Now, Corey,
there it is.
Beyond being hysterical, what does she mean by winning all the things? What are all the things?
Listen to his language.
Well, the basics aren't included in all the things. Our math, reading, and writing scores are down the drain. They're in the gutter, not getting any better. Look, they're asking for more money, obviously, but Becky Pringle, the head of the NEA right here, she just pulled the Dwight Schrute, is totally unhinged lunacy. And look, parents and grandparents at home, do you want this person raising your kids for 7 hours a day? Obviously not. You got to fight for school choice, defund this person. She makes over $500,000 a year to spew this garbage, and she wants to fight to control the minds of other people's children, and that's bad news for this country. But the good news is parents are seeing this crap. The sunlight is the best disinfectant, and parents are pushing for school choice, money following the child.
Yeah, but bottom line is all the things, is all the DEI stuff that she's putting at least equal to, if not above, getting good reading and math scores, right?
Right, they're focused more on the LGBTs than the ABCs, and they want more money. They want to indoctrinate your kids, not to educate them. And so, look, this is why this is free advertising for homeschooling and school choice. So hopefully we continue to play this clip on repeat.
Okay, so again, but he was in gay adult movies. and he's speaking out against the. What is going on the? You've got Mark Robinson, who shouldn't be. It should have been disqualifying the things that he said before the porn thing. You've got Matt Gaetz, who spreads all these things, right? You have RFK Jr. having an affair or whatever. What is going on? And then you have this hypocrite.
Well, it's just the hypocrisy taking over. And
is it MAGA?
No. I think that this has been sort of an undercurrent in our society for a long time, right? Okay for me, not good for thee. Not good for thee. Or okay for, others, not good for you. I think that 45 gave them permission and sort of peeled back that layer that we had, that you don't talk about those things in public, and it just everybody just saying whatever they want to say. But there is one point that I want to make about this school choice thing, because it really drives me crazy as the daughter of an educator. My mother, as you know, was an educator for almost 50 years, and over 50, director of a school, principal. It's really hard to become a teacher. You got to take a lot of exams. She has a master's degree and pulled herself up after being a teenage mother. I was a law professor. Some people don't know that. It's a little hard being a law professor, right? I taught evidence and trial advocacy. Evidence is a 4-credit course, and it's on the bar exam. So a lot of preparation goes into that. So this notion that you can just homeschool someone and make up your own curriculum is falsehood. It's actually really hard to teach children. And teach adults too, because I also taught adults law school. The other thing that I will say about school choice is read about school choice. Get read in, because what happens is they give vouchers to all families, whether they be wealthy or not. And then they sort of allow these families to choose which schools that they're going to send their children to. The schools that the money is taken away from are the public schools. So our public schools get worse. Our public schools aren't allowed to teach certain things. The teachers are not allowed to teach certain things according to their training and their exam testing, taking. And what happens is the wealthy people take those vouchers and put their kids in the best schools in the country, except it's still cheaper for them. And then the folks that aren't that wealthy, they still don't have enough money to put those kids in the schools that the wealthy people are putting those kids in. So this notion of school choice just means worse public schools and wealthy people putting their kids in the top schools for less money. And I am speaking to you as a wealthy person who put their children through some of the top schools in the country at pretty high price tags.
And are now at Harvard and...
One is at Harvard and one is at Cornell. Yeah.
So you did a good job. But
well, they did a good job. They were good students, but I gave them every opportunity. Thank you. But I gave them every opportunity that I could. If I were given a school voucher, I would take the money and then deduct it from the rest of the money that I was giving to those very expensive and exclusive schools. So this sort of bait and switch that you're hearing from the Republican Party about school choice is nonsense. It just means that there's going to be a permanent underclass, and our public schools are already failing our kids. Look at what happened after COVID. Look at the disparity. Look at the disparity in math. Look at the disparity in English. Look at the disparity in writing. Forget about school choice and let's make our public schools better, because everyone is entitled to a great education, not just the wealthy people. And bottom line is, education is the great equalizer. You know I believe that. I would not be sitting here with you, Mr. Don Lemon, if it weren't for the fact that I got skipped a couple times and got full scholarships to law school and undergrad. And it took me out of the Bronx projects.
So you're saying you had terrible grades and there was no future for you?
I had good grades.
You got skipped, what, like 3 times, 2 times?
3 times.
Oh my gosh,
I did okay.
All right, then Sonny, then you're smarter than all of us, okay? This is the last thing I'm gonna ask you about. Are you concerned about the polls or no?
You know, Whoopi has kind of been working on me for the past couple of years about these polls. And she says ignore the polls because people lie. One thing I used to think was, well, but I've never been polled, and I've been an American citizen for a long time. I now get like text message polls.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden, I'm starting to question the polls.
Because they realize that people have cell phones. They didn't, because it used to be landlines.
Yes.
So if we're sitting here, if you're here on the day after the election, I don't think we'll know the day after the election. I think it's
unfortunately, because of all the shenanigans
that's
that will be
happening
happening in
other
Georgia
places.
and other places, we
So,
won't know.
on Inauguration Day, where will
Yeah.
you and I be? The night of the night of the inaugural parties that you and I usually
I
go to.
plan
where are
on
you gonna
being in D.C. celebrating the first female black president.
Thank you, Sonny. How are the kids, by the way?
They're great. They're amazing.
And all good?
Paloma is doing really well. I'm texting her every morning. I think she's tired of me. Gabriel's in his senior year.
Don't be a helicopter mom.
I'm a helicopter mom.
She's the helicopter mom. But
I
you know what
am.
I really enjoyed is that you're a great mom, because we have to get out of here. But I have to tell you, I loved watching your social media during the COVID.
Oh,
the
we're a
pandemic.
competitive family.
Yeah, because you had like game night.
game
It
night.
was just great. It was like you
It
were
still
like,
goes
you
on.
were the American family. It was great. The dog was there. Your mom was there. It was just all great. Sonny, I love you to pieces.
I love you.
You know I love you to
and
pieces.
I love your new book.
I once was lost. My search for
It's
God in
really
America.
good. Pick it up.
And I love that you. I
Really
love your book
good.
as well. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
I appreciate it. Sonny Hostin, everybody. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time on Lemon Live at 5 on the Don Lemon Show. Thanks. Bye.
On time.